All right, so sorry I didn't film all this, but I was removing the parcel shelf, which is this shelf up here that goes back up there. You have to remove the C-pillars. They're pretty easy. They'll pop right out. There's a little connector right here that goes into this little slot. You just slide that down, pop that out, just run it down with the seat belt. You can keep everything pretty much all attached here. You're just going to replace the subwoofers in this example. So it should be pretty easy to kind of get back there. And you just kind of got to get some good leverage on it. These little things back here are kind of inserted, I guess somewhere, maybe back in that spot. Kind of hard to figure out. There's some little connectors, 3 of them on the parcel shelf. They sit right here and they go in this spot, that spot, and then a spot down there. On the other side, there's not a 4th one because the seatbelt is here. But it takes just a little kind of pushing up around. Just kind of be gentle with it. You don't want to break any connectors or anything like that, but there's no electrical connectors with the parcel shelf, so it's pretty easy on that. Seat removal, there's a lot of YouTube videos documenting that piece. Pretty easy. The best tip I got was use something to slide under when you do the clips. So when I was removing the back, I just grabbed this Aston Martin magazine. It's a nice kind of thick book in here. So once I kind of pulled the lever, I just kind of blocked it out here and then did the other side. The bottom seat cushion's also kind of a pain. I actually just used the floor mats. Once I popped some of the 4 connectors, it's you just kind of you put the floor mats to make sure they don't reconnect. That actually worked pretty well. So now I'm just going to replace these subwoofers, and they're pretty easy. You just have the 4 bolts on each one. We're going to disconnect the connectors there for the power lines, and I am finishing the rest of my installation here. I already did the doors. We're going to be adding these Ground Zero Iridium series subwoofers. They're supposed to fit the spot perfectly, so that's why I got these. They came highly recommended from some other members on the Facebook group for Jaguar, and we'll see how that goes. All right, to get the subwoofer out, I kind of already did it. You basically just need to remove 4 screws. There's 4 in each spot there. The connector is right here. I just use kind of my little pick piece just to hold down, whoops, there it is in camera. Hold down this little piece and it just disconnects from the subwoofer once you get it in there. Move these 4 screws. What did I use? It's a 9 or 5x16. Yeah, what does that say on there? Oh no, it's a 9x32. So use a 9x32. That will work perfect. That will get your subwoofer out of here. Obviously do it on both sides. And you're just gonna have kind of the new empty spots here. We're gonna have to cut these because I don't have a connector. So the connector I'm gonna use is the new ones on the new speakers, and we will get those in there. All right, so I need a template for the new mount that I'm gonna have. So what I did is I just cut apart with my Dremel, just kind of slot off each of the plastic connectors of the original Jaguar set up here. Rip this all out with the part here, basically so I can just use this as a template. I go over here and grab, this is the new one that I have. I need to use this ultimately to kind of cut this down because this is way too big, way too wide for what I have. So I'm gonna measure this all out, get it all fitted on here so it's even, go around this piece here, and then just basically, you know, get the new sizing done on this. Now this one's also a bit thicker, as you could tell. So, you know, this is kind of a lot more work than I wanted, but it kind of is what it is. So we'll get this down here. I think the best way to also, if I center all this down in here. You'll kind of see how I could easily center that. I could block that all off there. That way I have every connector that I need there. This should fit the new speakers. I think the new speakers need a little bit of edging off the edges on this, so even that's a little not so plug and play. But this has been pretty much a more involved project than I ever imagined. So you just gotta work a lot of patience. Fortunately, there's only 2 of these, so I'll just go ahead and do that for the first one, and hopefully it works fine, and I'll get the second one built out with the same model. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I'm basically using a white pencil. Thank goodness my wife is an artist. And I just trace the contours of this line here. And then what I do is I'm just cutting this, and I'm cutting it with my variable speed scroll saw, which I haven't used for ages. So it helps a ton. Basically, I just kind of, you know, follow the scroll saw and get what I need done out of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be with the clearance that you need for this. Now, you don't need to be this exact, but I figured why not? I'll just kind of cut it to match what the prior pieces are, because what I'm concerned about, if I have too much space in here, there's not a lot of room between the 2 pieces. So if I have this piece going here kind of end to end, that's gonna be fine because it's just kind of only jettisoning out to where the screws go. And you do have to watch what you're gonna do within the screw pieces, because after I cut this, you'll see, well, let's see. This one actually, that I put it on right there, but depending on how you set it, your screws are not in the right spot. So if you find the right position, you kind of get it there. This is what I'm going to mark for my holes. I'll get the holes in there, and I'll just kind of smooth this out a little bit, just to make it look a little bit better, but I don't know why, I don't really need to. And that is what I'm having to do. That's my template right here. And I'll just, like I said, go back to the scroll saw over here. And with my goggles on and everything, I just basically just cut that all out. So what I had to do additionally is I had to use a sanding bit to kind of sand out the center a bit. I really just went around 2 times, not too deep, be very careful. You just kind of want to take barely enough off so that you could get the new speaker to sit flush in there. So it's going to sit flush in there, and then we're going to attach it right to the new pieces that we have, and everything is good. I'm pretty much ready to start installing this. So all I want to do here is I want to pre-drill everything before I get it into the car. As you can tell, I have these all connected here. I ran a piece of double-sided tape, 3M tape, just to, you know, you can use silicone too. I just use 3M. Let's get rid of this screw here because that doesn't belong there. Watch out, this magnet captures everything. And what I'm doing is I'm just pre-drilling these connectors to the car, basically. That way when I put it in there, I could go ahead and just kind of feel that they are sitting right with the connectors in the car that they're going to drill into. And you know, just kind of bring those in there a little bit. Now we got a little bit of a lip on it. It's kind of hard to see, but you just want to feel the screw at the end. That way you could set it in there really nicely. You'll also see here that I have this connected right. So what I did is I made sure, one, I know these go in the, well, closest to the rear seat, which would be more to the front. And I know I have the connectors facing as close as I can to the rear seat too, because that's where the connector is that I need to for the wire. As you see here too, I've cut out a pretty large space just to kind of compensate for putting the wire underneath there. I don't really want it to have much pressure because I don't want it to snap, or, you know, if you put too much pressure on wires, sometimes that could cause some issues as things kind of move or shift around, although nothing really should shift around here, but, you know, just better safe than sorry. Plus it gives you a little workable space. It's not going to affect anything because the rest of this mount is going to sit nicely in there. And we're just going to connect the wires with kind of the push here. And we're going to bring this into the car to install this second speaker. All right, so a couple things on getting these into the actual car is you definitely want to kind of carve out a spot for the connector. So I actually had to disconnect these pieces that are connected to the metal there. I'll try to reposition them when I'm all done here, but you also kind of need to make sure that you have enough clearance for what you have here. I was trying to use these bolts on this piece, but I kept hitting the speaker, the new speaker going in. It's new speaker is bigger than kind of the old speaker, so this template works, but you got to use a smaller screw. So good news is these black screws that I'm using here to attach it to the car, those actually came with the door speakers, so I just got those from there. And then once you're in here, you're gonna have a kind of a tight space with the boy, don't lose that. You have a tight space with the window in your way. It's very tight against this window. And once you kind of get it lower enough, you'll have enough space to get cleared, but those are just going to get bolted in there. I do test the speaker before I install it, because obviously if these connectors weren't connected right, you definitely don't want to have to redo this all again. So before you install it into the actual hole in the car and start tightening things down, make sure that you run the stereo and make sure the speaker is working as expected. Something I found while assembling this, these come unconnected. These two pieces here, they're going to be, looks like for your heating element for your back window. So make sure you slide them back in. They kind of just pop in and pop out. Both of mine were undone, probably from the removal process. So you just pop them back in there. And remember, you're gonna have this thing here that's gonna connect to this piece here. So that's the next thing. I'm just trying to get all this all cleaned up and fitted, make sure everything's working right. Seems like it is. So far we're in good shape. Again, you just kind of line up everything with the connectors there, and our new speakers are in back. All right, I'm in the process of reinstalling the shelf here. Well, just lost that, but I'll find it. You might want to remove these child lock pieces. You could pinch them in here, kind of pinch both sides and the other side, and that will get that in there, because it gets kind of hard to get this set right without removing these pieces. So once you remove these, you'll of course pop them back in when you're ready, but I was able to better get the leverage I needed to get this installed in there. So now we can see everything's ready to go, and I see I'm getting some foam in my new speakers, and this ledge stuff just flakes a lot, so you get a lot of debris. But I'll go in there with my vac and kind of clear that out before I reattach everything all together. But we're looking pretty good. Once I remove these, I was able to get this position. And remember, you got a couple screws that you need to kind of get down in there. And again, make sure these things don't get all disconnected, which it just did again. So get that back connected there. And we're kind of getting close to being all done with this project. So big screw up on my part when reconnecting all this is I got a couple tears on my C-pillars. Really bad one on that one. So having this leaning against here was not great. I should have really protected it with a towel and just made sure that all these shop projects weren't there. So my bad, my loss. Now I was able to get this in here pretty good. You do get, it was much easier kind of getting it attached with this. You got to put back in these plastic little holders. We're going to have to get this seat all aligned here. Remember, these connectors here go there. We want the line out. We need to move the seat belt out of the way as well too. But we're just getting to the final pieces of this. Overall, we're ready to put this in. You also want to make sure you have your pull tabs accessible and not inside there, so in case you have to do this. And remember, we're going to have to bring these out, the belt buckles. We'll want to reconnect our heated seats And we're gonna just pop that into the new tabs there. Only other thing to kind of share is this is kind of the little damage I had. Hopefully it kind of bounces back a little bit. It doesn't look like I got a tear in there, but definitely not great considering how beautiful and untouched really my back seats looked until today. So again, use a towel. It was probably because I was sometimes sitting on this. I didn't even think about this, and really stupid on my part. Plus you have a lot of weird things like this too, which could have easily punctured the seat. I was trying to be gentle, but I think I just got sloppy as I was doing the final install. But as you can tell, everything looks really great. I added a little piece of automotive double-sided tape to keep the speaker cover on better, because my little plastic tabs only had one tab when I removed it. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe they just deteriorate, but overall we're looking pretty good. We're almost done. Just the bottom seat cushions ready to go in. All right, and just like that, we have our back seats back. Again, everything's looking pretty good. Radio is all installed. We have all brand new speakers across the board, and ready to rock.